Welcome in the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man, I'm doing better than you. I can tell. Man, I've had to hear about 10 different ways how much Christmas shopping up there in Sevierville. God. What a nightmare that is.
Sevier County is jumping, right? And I don't know why we do this. We do it every year, Mike. We wait to the very last minute to get everybody's Christmas presents. So we load up the wagon. We head up to the mountains there, hang out with Dolly Parton and company, and it rained the entire time. I think Tanger Outlet has added about 500 stores since I was last there. And there's only one person working per store, too. So I've noticed that's a problem when you're trying to check out. But it's absolutely miserable. I've never heard so many horns blow. I mean, it felt like a damn parade at times, Mike. And I was ready to get out of there, exhausted. I told you earlier before we got on here, he asked me if I'm ready to talk football, buddy. I said, I am more than ready, man. It beats trying to find a damn parking spot. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, so we got a lot to cover, Shane. We're going to hit on all 14 SEC programs on this show. But before we get to that, Shane, the SEC announced their annual awards on Wednesday. And, you know, there's a lot of awards going around. There's like the writers, there's, you know, the media, on and on and on. But this is specifically, Shane, as voted by the SEC coaches. So I hold this one in a little bit higher regard than just about any other one. Are you ready to go over the 5 or 6 different awards here?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
All right, so starting with Offensive Player of the Year. No surprise, in my opinion. Surprise to the Heisman voters, I would have to say. But old Hendon Hooker, Shane, Tennessee quarterback, I would imagine you agree with that one.
Absolutely, man. And it drives me nuts. The snubbed, the Heisman race. I mean, yes, the season didn't end the way he wanted to, and yes, he missed one freaking game, Mike. One freaking game. And that injury kept him out of the college football playoffs, and it kept Hooker out of the Heisman race, which is an absolute joke. It just, I don't know. The system's screwed up. And I know, again, we're getting back to the great accomplishment with this award, but the Heisman is, you know, we've put it on a pedestal for so many years. And, short of, even Will last year getting snubbed, I think he was the best player in the country. And then this year, Hendon Hooker, I'm not saying he should have won the Heisman, but there's no reason that he shouldn't have been on stage with those boys. So just an absolute joke. We gotta redo this thing. We got to figure it out.
Well, I knew you'd get on your soapbox as soon as I mentioned that, so I wanted to lead with that. But Defensive Player of the Year, Shane, as voted on by the coaches, like you said, Will Anderson honored this season, just an outstanding linebacker for Alabama, likely a top probably 2 or 3 pick in the upcoming NFL draft. He's not declared or anything, but Will Anderson, no complaints there, right?
No complaints there. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was several defensive players that stepped up this season. I could name 5 from Georgia, and but I'm sure they're the ones that are upset the most here. But I'm with you. And when you scheme your offense away from one person, you know, that should be part of the recognition of being an absolute beast on the line. So I'm okay with this.
Now, for Special Teams Player of the Year, you could go many different directions here. Some outstanding punters, some outstanding kick returners. But they gave it to Georgia's outstanding kicker, Jack Podlesny. He's been money all season. I know he missed the field goal in the SEC championship game, and it's one of those, Shane, where when he misses, it's noteworthy because he barely ever misses. You know what?
Yeah, I mean, I could argue Kroger. I really think he's been dynamite with South Carolina and that Beamer ball, and it doesn't get enough loving, but there's been that would be my only thing. And nothing against kickers or punters, but it seems like I don't know. It's harder to be a great punter than it is a great kicker. And maybe that's just me, but you're talking about placing a football in certain areas that, you know what I'm saying? And I felt like Kroger was a fantastic addition, but don't get me wrong. Georgia's got a hell of a kicker. He missed just one, right?
That I can recall. One or two.
Well, the fact we don't know, that just shows you how often he doesn't miss. So I'm okay with this too. It's just that's one of those I'd like to have seen maybe a 1A, 1B situation.
All right, how about freshman of the year, Shane? A lot of quality candidates, the best young athletes in the country in the SEC, but the honor goes to Quinshon Judkins, outstanding Ole Miss running back, led the SEC in rushing, and I think really the only other guy you could have seriously given this award to, Harold Perkins, LSU, outstanding linebacker, did it all for them Tigers, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's too hard to overlook a guy that led the SEC in rushing.
Yeah, I think that's the key, man. You lead the SEC in rushing. It stands out like a sore thumb, so I think they got this one right.
Now, they give, I don't know why they name this award. They don't name the rest of them. It's called the Jacobs Blocking Trophy. So, most outstanding blocker, Ricky Stromberg, Arkansas. Man, you got to know, when you get Sam Pittman down there, you're going to have you a couple Jacobs Blocking Trophies coming your way. You know what?
Absolutely. So, what's the name of this award again?
Jacobs Blocking Trophy.
Yeah, we got to work on that one. I don't like the name, but I do like the player. So, yeah, I think it's a good pick here, man.
And then Coach of the Year, lot of quality candidates, Shane. Josh Heupel, Shane Beamer, maybe even throw Clark Lee for the job he did. Brian Kelly, outstanding job. But it goes to the guy I would have voted for, Kirby Smart. Another perfect season for them Bulldogs. I know they got all the talent in the world, but in a season where chaos was the only constant, them dogs, Shane, they were the only other constant in SEC and the nation. I mean, they basically went untested for 13 games.
Absolutely here, man. And I think you could make a case, like you said, particularly Heupel and Kelly down there.
Yeah.
But the fact them dropping that next to last game and the last game there, I think that's what kind of snubbed them here. And your obvious answer is Kirby Smart.
Mm-hmm.
Undefeated in the SEC. Doesn't happen often, man.
Right. Now, we got a couple quick hitters here, Shane, before we get a little transfer portal update. We're trying to do this every day because it's just been so chaotic. But Devon Achane announced he's going to go pro. No surprise there. And unfortunately, the Aggies did not make a bowl game, so this is not he ain't sitting out a bowl game because they don't got one. But someone who is sitting out the bowl game, Shane, Will Levis. And not a big surprise because, again, he's been banged up all season, but going up against a tough Iowa defense. Have you seen the over-under, Shane, in the Music City Bowl, Iowa, Kentucky? What do you think the over-under is in that?
Oh, no, I haven't seen it. So I'm going to guess 42.
31.
Oh, God. Oh, man. First to 16, 17 is the winner, huh?
And that was before this news, Shay. So I bet that's going to get bet down into the 20s, which I cannot recall a bowl game ever being in the 20s for over-under. Can you?
No. This may be. They may not even do quarterback. Just have Rodriguez back there, get him an extra fullback, and let's play some Kentucky football, man.
Yeah. So I've been trying to keep up to date, Shane, on thatsecpodcast.com. If you've not checked it out, I'm trying to just basically the moment a player goes into the portal, I am updating it. Anytime there's a commitment of a player to another SEC team, putting that on the website. Go check it out. Got all 14 teams listed there. And I was going to give you a little breakdown here, Shane, of the latest transfer portal figures after the portal being open for 72 hours. How's that sound?
This portal line is about as long as the American Eagle one I stood in earlier today. So, the Starbucks one. That one was a bad one. Jeez Louise. All that for a peppermint mocha.
Well, so leading the way out of the SEC right now, Shane, this is kind of incredible. Texas A&M,
Yeah.
18 guys in the portal.
Jeez Louise.
So nearly an entire signing class here in the transfer portal. Not far behind, though, Shane, the Florida Gators, 16. Arkansas, we got 14 in the portal. Alabama and Auburn and Ole Miss all have 12. Missouri's got 10. Kentucky's got 9. Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, and Tennessee, South Carolina all have 6. LSU got 5, and Georgia finally got one. They were the only goose egg till today. Bill Norton, the defensive lineman, in there. And we've only got, right now, Shane, 3 commitments via the transfer portal. So Arkansas picked up former Florida offensive lineman Josh Braun. He was recruited to Georgia by Sam Pittman.
Yeah.
Sam Pittman takes the Arkansas job. Josh Braun decommits from Georgia, enrolls in Florida. Now he's going to play for Sam Pittman there in Arkansas. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then here on Wednesday, Tennessee picked up UC Davis tight end. Man, this sounds made up. Let me know if you think. His name, Shane. McKellen Castles.
Okay. All right. McKellen Castles.
Apparently he's 6'7", and I don't know how accurate this is, but On Three saying he had second round NFL draft grade. So
sounds like he writes books, don't he? That sounds like he's gonna take Hooker's spot here. He does novels. Hooker does kids books. He does novels. So I think that's a very unique name, and I'd like to have a castle, a little royalty in Knoxville wouldn't be a bad thing, brother. So I'm looking forward to that, especially tight end.
Yeah.
That's kind of a, and I don't think we're done there, brother. I think we're still shopping around.
Right.
I want to ask you, because you went through a lot right there. I mean, that's a lot to take in. We're talking well over 100 kids just in the SEC in the portal there.
Yeah.
And I'm not good with math, but I'm assuming it's close to that. But is that panic? Are you panicking if you're a team, or is this the new norm? Is this what we're going to see every single year? And one more on that. When do we start seeing some closure? Like you said, we only got 3 commitments right now. When do you start thinking some of these start to go down?
Well, I mean, that's tough to say, Shay, but it was something that, on I can't remember, a week or two ago, Steven Lasson and I kind of, on our transfer portal preview show, we kind of discussed, I don't read anything. If you see all these websites, I realize they got to put content out like we do, but they're, they'll write about, we're getting this transfer visit and
right.
and what kind of offense are you looking for? What's a connection to the coach? I don't believe any of that, and I think all that is worthless. I honestly do, Shane, because I think, and maybe I'm just being cynical here, but I think damn near every player that is going to land in the SEC via the transfer portal, they're making a decision based on money.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. I'm not judging them for it. But I think that's why we've not had many commitments, because I think these players are going into the portal, Shane, and then they're saying, oh, okay, I got a Georgia offer. I got an Ole Miss offer. I got a Tennessee offer. And I'm talking just offer to come.
Yeah.
What's a dollar amount?
Right.
So the fact that we're not seeing guys flipping and committing and all this, because I think they're saying, okay, this school's giving me $10,000. Well, can you do better than that? Can you do better than $20,000? On and on and on. And I think that's what's going on behind the scenes. So I don't know what the timeline is for that. And I'm not saying that, if you pick up a punter, he's getting paid $100,000. But there's a premium on pass rushers and offensive linemen and receivers and certainly quarterbacks. Not seeing any of those guys commit. And I think it's because, they're just kind of battling for NIL offers and seeing where the money's at. So this could be a little while here.
It's a bidding war.
Yeah,
and it's not just money. I do think that is definitely a factor, but playing time, there's all kinds of factors. Who's coming with us? That
Right.
sort of thing. You don't want to be the only cat there making all the money, but the rest of your team just transferred out to Colorado to play with Deion Sanders or something. So I think that's kind of what you're waiting on too. But I do feel like, similar to recruiting, man, that once a couple start going, watch them fall quickly. And it's like, oh, okay, so he's going there. Well, then I'm going with him, kind of situation. So I think it's good, and it's good to watch some of these early teams land some commits, because sometimes you may see some following right behind.
Right. And here's another thing, Shane. I mean, just because you land a commitment, I don't think it's binding. I think they have to show up and physically enroll in a class before it's official. So we've seen that with Tennessee. That's just an example that popped into my head. This time last year, Shane, it was his name was Isaiah Nayor, Wyoming receiver, commit to Tennessee, and then about a week later, he was down playing for Texas. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't think any of this is even binding until they show up.
Even if they do, let me ask you this, Mike. Let's say they do commit. They're going to the school. Isn't there another portal window in May, you said?
Right.
Right, so they could just exit on out of there, get their little NIL check, and get the hell out of Dodge. So this is kind of a wild – it's going to be the wild, wild west. And these business owners, these collective agreements and stuff, they're not going to put themselves in a bad situation. They're going to put themselves in a situation where they pay a kid not for him to play. So I would imagine once we start seeing some of those NIL checks being sent out, or you see some sort of bargaining, that pretty much can secure that kid's going to be there. But until then, I still think a lot of kids are just sticking their toe in the water without diving in just right now.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, Shane. So, hey, show topic for this episode. We've done this before in the offseason, and seemed like the fans really enjoyed it. Rating SEC teams, Shane, like they're a stock.
Yep.
We buying them, we selling them, or we holding them. And you can't just buy all of them, Shane, because if you're buying somebody, that means somebody else is taking a downward. So, I just thought that'd be a fun way to go through all these SEC teams and do it before the bowl, because, the bowl games they're just tough to gauge. You've had a month of practice, you got opt-outs, you got coaches that may or may not be there, you may be facing a team that their quarterback or their coach has left, and on and on and on. So it's I think it's more important to do this before the bowls, before we get that last view. We just got 12 games, 13 in Georgia and LSU's case, to judge these programs and their direction. How's that sound to you?
And again, just for clarification here, this is buying, selling, holding going into next season, correct?
Yeah, pretty much just the direction of the program.
Okay, all right, I'm with you.
So let's start with Alabama, Shane, and before you make a decision here, just throwing this out there because I thought, the account, they do a great job if you're not following them already. SEC, I think it's Vids, SEC Vids or SEC Football Vids. I apologize if I got that wrong, but they got a ton of followers. Just type that in, you'll find them. This is a stat they put out, Shane, with the all SEC teams that just have been coming out.
Yeah.
For the first time since 2013, and only the second time under Nick Saban, Alabama did not have a single quarterback, running back, receiver, or tight end be named all SEC first team. Now, when I see that, Shane, and I put this out there and I'm getting buried for it, Alabama's not developing their talent. Because we're sitting here saying, well, where's these receivers? They had to add Jahmyr. A lot of people say, well, what the hell are you talking about? Jahmyr Gibbs looks pretty awesome. Well, they added him via the transfer portal. You know what I mean? So they don't get a ton of credit for developing him. And I realize Bryce Young is outstanding. They do get credit for that, no doubt. But, hell, he wasn't named first team. So something went wrong here. But, that's just, maybe it's just a sign of times because of the transfer windows and all that. But I say all that to ask you, Shane, are you buying, selling, or holding Nick Saban's Alabama program?
That's tough, man. That is very tough. And what do you and you think about it, okay? So when I think buy, sell, or hold, well, look at the season. 10-2, no SEC championship, no college football playoffs, you're losing maybe one of the best quarterbacks to ever play college football. Naturally you think, well, definitely Sale. If you're losing a guy at that caliber, Bryce could, if he would have won those 2 games, there would be no doubt who the Heisman candidate would be. So I think part of you just naturally wants to sell Nick Saban, but I'm not. I'm going to hold. And I'm going to tell you why, Mike, because I think one of the biggest problems that Alabama had this year was not just the offense, but how it played. And I'm not convinced that they're going to go into another season. And I'm not saying Bill O'Brien's fired. I'm not saying he's transferring out, but I'm not also saying he's not going to get a little support, because you think about even his NFL career. When he went to Houston Texans and they started struggling, he wasn't calling the plays. He said, hey, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to start calling the plays. And what happens? He gets fired. So he comes over to Alabama to get rehabbed. And what did we get? We get an Alabama offense that's not the offenses we signed up for, especially when you've got the number 1 draft pick at quarterback. So right. I'm going to hold, because I think this offense will get improvement. I think this defense is going to stay steady, but I do think that we're going to get some improvement with them. The moment you doubt Nick Saban is the moment he kicks you in the ass. So the fact that Nick Saban is still around, he has not retired, he's coming back for another year, and that team is absolutely loaded. I'm thinking that we just got ourselves a bad crop, and we're just a couple of transfer portal hits away from having another hell of a season down there in Tuscaloosa. So I'm going to hold on them right now. The only reason I'm not buying on Alabama is because I don't know who's going to be the quarterback next year.
Well, Shane, that was a lot of words for you dancing around a subject you didn't want to hit on. Sell them Crimson Tide. And I'll tell you why, Shane. I mean, I've said it before. This is Georgia's league now.
Yeah.
It certainly looks that way. And we're not grading Alabama on a normal scale. We're grading Alabama on an elite scale, because that's the standard Nick Saban set in Tuscaloosa. Now, that doesn't mean they'll never win the SEC again. May not. They may win another national championship. But I don't know the likelihood of that with LSU rising, with A&M a play caller away from being there, Ole Miss rising. Now we got Hugh Freeze to deal with. I think Nick Saban, that's the one coach he didn't want to see down there at Auburn. You know what? Hugh Freeze. So, there's a lot standing in Alabama's way, and I think you hit on the most critical piece, Shane. They're struggling for their standard, not for most standard, but for their standard, with the best player in the country, with the soon-to-be number 1 overall player in the NFL draft, should he declare Bryce Young. Just imagine what they're going to look like with a downgrade, because how can you possibly do any better than that? So I'm selling Alabama stock right now until proven otherwise.
And here's what happens. Drake May hits the portal. Alabama gets richer. And Mike is getting clipped and put on frozen takes again.
All right, how about Arkansas, Shane? Again, this is a program, a lot of guys hitting the transfer portal.
Yeah.
That's concerning. Barry Odom has left. He's now the head coach of UNLV. Barry Odom, early in the Sam Pittman tenure there, basically carried the Razorbacks. I know the defense was not that great this year, but I think that had more to do with players going down and them just not having the depth. It's going to be very difficult to upgrade from Barry Odom. Are you buying, selling, or holding the Arkansas Razorbacks?
It's a tough one, man. And the reason it's tough is KJ Jefferson.
Yeah.
Because I want to believe that he can carry this team to another run, that he can make another push to potentially win the West next year. That's what I want to believe deep down inside, Mike. But the problem that I see with Arkansas right now is something that you just hit on. The West is on a rise. Yeah. Auburn is on the rise. LSU on the rise. Alabama, bad season. who's to say they don't bounce back and be completely dominant again? And who's on the receiving end of all those hits? The Arkansas Razorbacks. So I think the window closed, brother. I think we had a shot this year to really make some noise, build up that recruiting trail, and we didn't have it, man. Barry Odom's out. I think he was a big piece of that defense and that team in general. So I'm selling the Razorbacks right now, and it pains me, with KJ coming back, and I may look like a fool, but I think we're going to have a little bit of a drop off here, and not because of Arkansas talent, just the talent that's around them in that division.
Well, from where I'm standing, Shane, you are a fool.
Hey, you love him Hogs, man. Tell me why I'm wrong. I want to believe it. Trust me, I want to believe that Arkansas comes back and they're just playing on fire again. But why? Why? How? Make me believe that, Mike.
Yeah, definitely. This season was a disappointment. We were riding a bandwagon there for them Razorbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of players getting into the portal. That's concerning, no doubt. But we don't know who they're getting out of the portal. And last time I checked, Shane, this program, they nailed it last year, adding some defensive linemen, adding Drew Sanders via the portal, adding some terrific receivers. Remember, all offseason we're saying, my God, they don't have a receiver in this group. Well, They turned around, they had 2 top 10 receivers in the SEC. So this staff knows how to identify and develop. Again, we'll have to wait and see who they replace Barry Odom with. They better hope and pray Kendall Browse stays. I know he's not always among the fan favorites down there, but I think he does a terrific job with what he has to work with. You mentioned KJ Jefferson, Rocket Sanders, arguably a top 2 running back in the SEC. That's a dynamic duo right there. Offensive line didn't quite live up to the hype this year, but still, hell, we had the Jacobs blocking trophy winner up there. You know what I mean? So that's the standard up there in Fayetteville. Right. It's an elite standard. So for now, I'm holding. I think Arkansas can still, because again, Shane, they just lost several one-score games. They won those games the year prior. They won 9 games. They lose those this year. They only win 6. So very disappointing season. This is a critical offseason. But again, you lose all these guys to the transfer portal. That looks bad on the surface. But if they were not bought in and they were holding us back and we replace them with better or equal talent that is bought in, I think Arkansas can bounce back quickly. But that's why I'm not quite ready to go that far because these are unknowns. Yeah. So I'm saying hold on them Arkansas Razorbacks for right now.
Okay.
Now, how about Auburn, Shane? Just hired Hugh Freeze, of course. We have the ultimate boomer bust candidate here in the SEC. He knows how to beat Nick Saban. Hell, it looks like he's got a vendetta here against Lane Kiffin, going after all his coaching staff here, going after Ole Miss quarterback recruit on the recruiting trail. This is going to be vicious. I thought Hugh Freeze's biggest rival was going to be Nick Saban or Kirby Smart. It looks like it may be Lane Kiffin. Are you buying, holding, or selling the future of Auburn football?
Well, brother, I am buying. I am absolutely buying. Some people love Hugh Freeze. Some people hate him. And I know you have mixed emotions about him, but there's one thing that he's doing right now that you and I ain't, and that's out there recruiting. And he's in some teenager's living room right now. And he is convincing them to come down to the plains. And my man, I think back, 2013 when Ole Miss had that top recruiting class, and everybody kept saying, they must be cheating down there. You must be cheating down there. Well, now he's got a blank check with a big NIL in the top left corner. He's getting away with it, boys. Auburn is going to come back, brother. Auburn is going to be a threat. Now, I don't know if it's going to be this year, but the fact that the NIL portal and all that's going on, that the pieces are in place to build a season quicker or build a team quicker than years past, and I like those odds. Auburn makes a bowl game next year. That's improvement. Auburn improves on offense. Auburn improves on defense. This team is bye right now. If you are an Auburn fan, you are on cloud nine. Now, you may not like the guy. You may not go to church with him. But I'm telling you right now, brother, in about 3-4 years, we're going to look back and we're going to say, you remember where we were and where we're at now, and that's going to be because of one Hugh Freeze. So I'm buying all the Auburn I can get right now.
Yeah, I think you make some good points there, Shane. I mean, say what you want about Hugh Freeze. I think he's going to be on a mission to prove Auburn right. Kind of, the parallels have been made. Bruce Pearl there at Auburn. His last shot, so to speak. Now he's one of the biggest names once again in college basketball. So I think the path is there, and you hit on it. He's a dogged recruiter. He will get out there. And just looking at his early staff hirings, he's hiring people based on staffing, on who can bring in talent. I should have said recruiting. He's hiring some great recruiters, getting that talent where it needs to be. He recognizes the holes in Auburn's roster. I will have to see who they get out of the transfer portal, but I would imagine that's going to be huge in their program rebuild this offseason. So give me all the Auburn stock you want, Shane. I'm buying them Auburn Tigers, even though I say all the bad things about old Hugh. I think he'll do well.
Even though he hates Hugh to the core of his soul, he knows that Auburn is going to be in a better spot this time next year. So I'm with you there, Mike.
Yeah. All right, how about the Florida Gators, Shane? I mean, troubling season. Yeah, you basically lost all the games you had to win aside from Utah. Losing to Vanderbilt. Poor end of the season. Anthony Richardson off to the NFL. This is a tough one. What do you think about the Gators?
This is a tough one, man. And for all those reasons. You could argue what you want. Anthony Richardson won a lot of games, and you could argue that he lost a lot of games down there. So I don't know if we're a better team because of that, but maybe we are because we're not focused on one individual player here. I love the running back room. I hate the fact that we've got all these cats in the portal. That kind of worries me, but still, you got to remember, this is year one. We're naturally going to have a little bit of a fallout from that locker room. Billy's still building this thing, and so I'm going to hold right now. And yeah, I'm going to hold. I'm not selling. I still think, we got to give some time to the Swamp. It's a different baby down there, it feels like. And they struggled at times to find their identity, but there at the end of the season, we saw flashes of what he wants to do. He wants to be physical. He wants to run the ball, and I think you build around that. You need a quarterback, yes, but you don't need that to be your focal piece right now. So I think the recruiting's going well. The portal was a little bit of an eye opener to me, but just because they're in the portal doesn't mean they're not coming back. So For that, again, I'm just going to hold on the Gators here.
Yeah, and this one program, Shane, is the one I give a pass on the portal, just because he's in his going into his second year, but first year on the job. So who knows? I mean, the players may not fit what he wants. They may be unhappy with their new coaches or coordinators or so on. You're better off, guys, if they're not fully on board, getting them out of your program anyway. So a little bit different for teams like Alabama, A&M, and Arkansas with more established, longer track record at the school. So, again, I give them a pass for any of the portal stuff. I would imagine they're going to be adding guys via the transfer portal. But next season's huge, brother. 3 SEC home games. We've hit on it. They got to go to Utah. They get Georgia on a neutral field. These fans, Shane, they're some of the best. They're some of the worst. Just like a lot of the SEC fan bases. They will not accept subpar performances. The expectations in Gainesville is championship football. Fell way short of that year one. I don't think anyone's ready to run him off because the big thing you said there, Shane, recruiting is going fantastic for the Florida Gators. They just added another quarterback right before we hopped on here, one of the top juniors in the country. So the future is very bright, but he's got to win some of these games next year. Otherwise, he's going to be on the hottest seat in the damn SEC going into his third year. So I'm holding for the Florida Gators. Same answer there we both have for the Florida Gators. Future looks bright.
Yeah.
But crazier things have happened. You know what?
That's right. That's right. It's like one of them teeter-totters, you just don't know.
How about the Georgia Bulldogs, Shane? Again, I mean, they might be right here sitting on, knocking at the door, back-to-back national championships.
Yeah.
They finished the deal here. Kirby Smart recruiting like gangbusters. I mean, he's got depth on depth on depth.
Mm-hmm.
He's got one player hitting the portal. I mean, all signs point to the future being as high as they ever could. Maybe the new Alabama here. Buy, sell, or hold Georgia.
Brother, I'm buying, man. I am buying, and you're saying, wait, they went undefeated. They may win out the college football playoffs and be crowned champs again back-to-back years. How can they do any better? Well, they're just at the top of the mountain, and I don't see it slowing down right now. In fact, some don't get me wrong, Stetson's a hell of a quarterback, but this team may be better on offense next year. I mean, we're talking one or two pieces here, and that's what I like to call target shopping, Mike. They got they bought bulk at Walmart. Got them a good deal. They got all their gifts. They got, everything set up. You got your recipe. You got everybody coming over the house, and you forgot a few things. Well, you don't want to mess with Walmart. You want to just jump in there and Target shop. You don't want to get all your groceries over because it's so expensive. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you just need one or two items out of the portal. That's what you're going to do, and that's where Georgia's at right now. They're loaded. They have no problems recruiting down there. Mm-hmm. And what's unique about this situation is that they could literally jump into the portal and pick whoever they want. And that's why I just think that this is a train that's not slowing down anytime soon. So I'm buying the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting about Georgia, Shane, and maybe it'll happen. Maybe I'm jinxing it here. I'm not intending to, but for years and years at Alabama, they basically are rotating coordinators in and out. Mm-hmm. Now, it's because they were so successful and those guys were getting head coaching jobs. And aside from Dan Lanning, who's now, of course, the Oregon coach, that's not really happened to Georgia. So I think it speaks to the continuity. I think it speaks to the culture. Not to say, I mean, Todd Monken, you got to imagine he's a candidate at places. Glenn Schumann, candidate. Will Muschamp, a candidate, I'm sure, for many jobs, yet they're staying in Athens. So, that is also something to consider. And like you're saying, I mean, they're sitting 5-star quarterbacks down there that can't get on the field because Stetson's playing so well. So just imagine what those guys are capable of once they hit the field. The defense after this season, Shane, I don't know if the defense will ever take a step back. You know what I mean? So Defense is always elite. This is just crazy to think about, but I'm buying. I'm right there with you. And hell, that's even if they do win back-to-back national championships. They might win 3 in a row. You know what I mean?
And what gets me the most is it's not just bringing great talent there. It's developing that great talent. You look at somebody like Stetson Bennett. That's a prime example. Coming in to 24/7. I mean, was he even listed? Maybe a 2-3 star. I don't know. I
think a 2-star.
But again, nobody was begging this kid to come to their school. But as he grew and as he developed, he became a quarterback that's going to get an opportunity to play on Sundays. Yeah. And if he would have stuck around at any other school, that may not have happened. So that's one of the cool things about Georgia is you may come in a 4 or 5-star recruit. You may come in a 2-star recruit. But as long as you follow the system, as long as you learn and keep getting better, you'll get your shot if you're good enough. And that's what I think is the most impressive thing about Georgia is just what they do with the talent when it gets there.
Yeah. All right. How about Kentucky, Shane? And a little, I don't want to say unrelated news because they have to play this team all the time, but I thought Louisville did a hell of a job here, Shane. They have stole away Purdue coach Jeff Brom. Mm-hmm. I always thought he did a good job. We saw him in the Music City Bowl beat Tennessee last season.
Yeah.
Now that's going to be their in-state rival. I think he's a hell of a lot better coach than old Scott Satterfield, who left for Cincinnati for some damn reason. Kentucky, though, Shane, they might be making a splash of their own. We've talked on this before. Liam Cohen.
Yep.
That buzz has not died down. So he may be making a return to Lexington. I mean, he was just, maybe the best coordinator they've ever had since Mike Leach down there on the Bluegrass. So if they get him back, big time, promising future there for Kentucky's offense. What do you think about the program overall? Buy, sell, or hold Kentucky?
Mike, I am absolutely torn on Kentucky right now. I think, obviously, if we knew the coordinator position was locked up and Cohen's going to be there, I'm going to buy just because he's done it before. He'll do it again. I want to buy on Mark because this is a one-off season, it feels like. Things didn't go as planned. But then there's part of me wants to sell because I don't know the quarterback situation, and I've seen it without Will Levis. Yeah. I don't know if the offensive line is fixed in one off season without us being extremely aggressive in the portal or at least getting some of these guys healthy. So for that, man, I got to hold. No, fuck, Mike. Sorry, Mom. I'm going to sell. I'm going to sell in Kentucky right now. One of the reasons is, their schedule has always been one of the easier ones in the past. But you look at some of their games next year, including the SEC West opponents, they've got Alabama. So I mean, that's probably going to be an extra loss there that we're not accounting for. So Mike, I don't know, man. I almost want to hold. It's one of those, like, I'm real close on hold, but I want to sell just because, hell, you're losing Will Levis. How can there not be a little bit falling to earth? And what if Cohen doesn't come? Are you convinced right now that this offense is 10 times better than it was this season? So until I get some definitive answers, including who's going to be my quarterback next year, I'm going to have to sell on the Wildcats. Final answer.
Yeah, I think you're dead on there, Shane. And the big part of that, lack of development of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And they've not had that in a while. Now they got Will Levis, hit jackpot, so to speak, in the transfer portal. So you're going to have to do that on an annual basis. Like you said, Liam Cohen, we don't know. If we know for sure, I got more confidence in him to do that. But that's the difference between a program like Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin, Tennessee, Josh Heupel. You don't have to constantly be changing out your coordinator to get that done. They're instrumental in getting that done. So it's a lot easier to buy into a head coach that has that track record than it is a coordinator that can leave at any point in time. So, yeah, I'm selling too. And like I said, I think Jeff Brom makes recruiting in that state tougher, playing in that state tougher. I believe Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken, Shane, I think they have the longest winning streak in the country against non-conference ball games. And, man, they got to keep that going. It's going to be tougher, I think, if Louisville gets going here. So just something to consider. It just seems like Mark Stoops has hit a ceiling there.
Yeah.
Now, who knows? Maybe they get over that. I mean, the defense has been great for years and years and years. Chris Rodriguez leaving. They don't have another Chris Rodriguez there. Offensive line taking a step back. I mean, there's a lot of concerns there on the Bluegrass right now, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, me too, man. And I hate it because there's a proven track record there of improvement the last 4 or 5 seasons. And this one, I'm trying to make it a one-off, but I'm just not convinced that it's not. So for the time being, until we hear some wild news here in the off season, I'm gonna sell right with you.
Now this may be one of the easiest ones on the board here, Shane. LSU, Brian Kelly, buy, sell, or hold.
Bye, bye, man. Well, first year SEC champion or SEC West champ. So wait till you get his guys there. So I think this is definitely a buy, and it's not so much his guys as it is competitive depth late in the season. That's really what got them. They weren't as deep. They couldn't go as far. So I think that's a definite improvement this season. So yes, I want all the LSU I can get, brother. That's an easy one.
Right, and don't forget, Shane, they've added 5-star. He was a freshman this year at quarterback, Walker Howard. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't even hit the field yet, but I hear great things about him. So, the future, whether Jaden Daniels comes back or not, of course, you want Jaden Daniels back.
Yeah.
But even if he doesn't, you may be settled at quarterback.
You got Booty. Yeah, Booty's back.
That was where I was going next, Shane. I mean, I can't believe he made the decision to come back. He says he wants to win a national championship. When you have leaders like that, guys that could be in the NFL tomorrow, making a decision like that, that's a great sign. You had promising freshmen like Will Campbell at left tackle, Emory Jones at right tackle, Harold Perkins, of course, maybe the most dynamic defender moving forward, another freshman. I mean, so many positives, and we haven't even mentioned recruiting, Shane. The recruiting is off the charts there in Baton Rouge, so it's hard. It's impossible to do anything but buy LSU stock.
Absolutely.
Now, how about Ole Miss, Shane, under Lane Kiffin? Survived another will Lane leave scare. Maybe an annual thing down there in Oxford, but hey, that just means he keeps on winning and the program keeps moving in the right direction. You buy, sell, or holding Ole Miss stock.
I think you're going to buy it right now, Mike. I think one of the things that was working against Ole Miss was Lane Kiffin's commitment, and that's no longer a factor anymore. That no longer could be used against him on the recruiting trail. He's still an electrifying coach, and he's going to have his presence known. He's going to be the portal king. They're all in on this thing. They're building up their NIL collective. There's a lot of good things going down at Ole Miss. So that's the key, was can Ole Miss get the talent down there? Because when Lane has the talent, he's always been able to get the most out of them. I think, Dart and Pruse, I think you got one of the best running backs in the country.
Yep.
I think the defense, that's the thing. The defense at times was horrendous. So if that just improves a little bit, I think we're in good shape. So, yes, I am buying the Ole Miss Rebels.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Shane. I mean, how can you not? And I think you hit on the most important thing here. This is Portal Madness. Well, we got the Portal King to take advantage of it. So we'll have to see what pieces they add this offseason, but you got to imagine they're going to add some dynamic receivers. I know they're after several. Got to get this defense kind of turned around, but I think we've seen some promise from Jackson Dart, and normally that's what I think of when I think of Lane Kiffin. I know they've been a running machine, but I think of quarterbacks developing, being some of the best players. They got to 8 wins, Shane, and for the most part, their quarterback was, I don't want to say holding them back, but he was like a question mark.
Yeah.
If they could continue to develop him and he can become a strength, man, there is no limit for this program. So I'm buying. I'm right there with you. I'm buying Ole Miss.
And you know what it reminds me of is Tennessee. Of course, everything reminds me of Tennessee because I'm a big Orange homer. But, Hendon Hooker didn't have that starting job coming into his first season.
Mm-hmm.
He eventually took it over, and one of the things they talked about was once he got on the field, he was a gamer, and he kind of took off. So Dart didn't get full reps this offseason. A lot of people forget there was quarterback controversy down there, and for the longest time, we didn't know who was going to be numero uno. We know it now. So now there's no question who's going to be the guy. There's, that's again one of the things, the drops, the Ole Miss drops, and the route running, and some of that could have been eliminated early if you could have had more chemistry with your quarterback. So I think that's a big part. And like you said, Lane Kiffin can develop quarterbacks. He will make Dart a better thrower.
Mike Leach, Shane, you buy, sell, or hold them?
Shit, Mike, this one's tough, ain't it?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, just for all the good things I said about Lane Kiffin, I want to say about the Pirate, but his coaching and his teams are inconsistent, man. Just like the season, there was good games, bad games. I think obviously it helps Will Rogers coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's some improvement there, but man, I think it was their defense that kept them in a lot of games, and you're losing that. So I'm going to say sale, man. I hate to say it, brother, but right now, even though you've got your QB1 back, I'm worried. I'm worried about the other side of the ball here, and I'm not convinced right now that this team can Oh man, save me here, because I know Mississippi State fans are like, Shane, you son of a, you should have stayed in Sevierville, you bastard. Because I want to believe them. I want to believe they're going to be better, but man, just like we talk about LSU definitely buying, Auburn definitely buying. Well, you buy so many teams, that means somebody's going to suffer, and right now, dude, I think it's Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Right. Now, I get all that, Shane, but man,
Tell me I'm wrong.
They've got their they've got their quarterback, Will Rogers. I mean, that is more than a lot of other teams in the SEC can say. The Pirate, he's a walking upset, as our buddy Dave Bartu likes to call him. Had they lost the Egg Bowl, had he been 0-3 in the Egg Bowl, I'd be right there with you. I'd be selling every piece of Mississippi State stock I got left. But for now, Shane, I'm holding because they still do got Zach Arnett, defensive coordinator. And, yeah, that defense been saving their neck time and time again this season. The offense didn't quite hit their stride, but I have seen enough from Mike Leach to see that he is adapting a little bit here, Shane. He's running the ball when the defense is making him do it, so to speak, whereas in years past it seemed like he was totally against doing that. I still got high hopes, and again, we're sitting here saying disappointing season, which it was, but they won 8 ball games.
Yeah.
They won their biggest rivalry. I mean, if that's a disappointing season, I think I'm pretty happy where my program's at if I'm a Mississippi State Bulldog. Yes, you want more. I get it. But maybe you get it next season. I'm not ready to run the guy off after winning 8 games in the nation's not only toughest conference, but toughest division. So I'm holding my Mississippi State stock.
Yeah, we were talking too about him getting fired going to that Egg Bowl. So let's don't get too carried away here, Mike. So who's their East opponents next year? I know I keep bringing this shit up, but I mean that's going to be a factor.
At South Carolina and hosting Kentucky. I mean that's not automatic wins. It's not automatic losses. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Toss ups.
Hold on. I can be convinced of a hold. In fact, I was close to it. So.
All right. How about Missouri, Shane? Drakowitz going into year 4 here.
Yeah.
At Missouri, making a bowl yet again. There's things to like. There's things not to like. Buy, sell, or hold Missouri.
My only concern is that damn portal, Mike. Is if we could have held on to all our chips, pun intended, I think that I think we would be in a better shape here. But I'm buying, man. I'm gonna buy on Mizzou because of what I saw through the season. I saw a team get better. I saw a team develop, and I think that gets overlooked time and time again. You want instant gratification. You want somebody to come in like an LSU and take you to an SEC championship. That's not in the cards at Mizzou. You're going to have to build and grow up there. And I'm seeing that. I am seeing the development, and I am seeing that when these kids stick around, they will be a better Mizzou for it. I think keeping our boy up there, Luther, is important. I'd love to see Lovett to stay. I think you're one good quarterback away from having an awesome offense, and I think they find it this year. They struggled a little bit in the portal to find it last year, but I think they're going to do it this year. So for that quarterback play, if they had one this year, we'd be talking about potential 8, 9, 10 win season. Right. So I'm going to buy Mizzou.
Well, Shane, I'll be honest with you. I'm about a transfer portal addition away from selling the future of Missouri here. We're losing guys left and right. I hate to see it. Basically what you just said there. But I'd love to see Missouri. They do have some good recruiting grounds up there. But for a program like this, they need to be a little bit more involved in NIL, in my opinion, if they want to remain or rise in the SEC and remain competitive here. I love the fact that Drink kind of shook up his offensive staff in season, the play calling duties, and that seemed to resonate and work for the team. So I love to see that adapting, because a lot of these coaches, they fail to adapt. He got the defensive coordinator right this time around with Blake Baker. They got him locked up. That's a great sign. But I'm a little concerned, Shay, because I'm already starting to see it. Every damn quarterback that goes into the portal,
yeah,
these Missouri fans, they want him. They think they're getting Devin Leary. He's the number one quarterback prospect in the portal. Florida's trying to get him. Many others are trying to get him. They got Brady Cook, who was heating up there at the end. That's kind of why they played better. They've got Sam Horn, who they've already invested in the NIL. It seems very unrealistic to me that they're going to go into the season with three guys at that quarterback spot that could potentially start. So I think they only go as far as Brady Cook or Sam Horn can take them. And I could just imagine now, Shane, an off-season of hype. Brady's our guy. He comes out here, rough game. Man, the fans are going to be all over Eli all over again. So
yeah,
they need Cook to be better, or they need Sam Horn to emerge. One or the other's got to happen. And until I see it, I cannot buy Missouri due to that fact.
Well, Mike, I'm not convinced that those are either of the starting quarterbacks next year. I mean, I see where you're coming from, but how can you not go out here and try to find you a quarterback? I've seen a lot of good kids out here in the portal, other conferences, and if you can convince, like if you can get a collective together and say, look, man, and convince Lovett to stay, brother, that's the big one too. If you can convince Lovett to stay and get you a quarterback sooner than later, man, you're talking about a pretty fun little offense to watch. But yeah, that's why I'm buying, because maybe I'm a glass half full kind of guy, and I just think that Eli's going to get it done.
Shane, if they had a quarterback with this defense last year, they would have been an SEC dark horse.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, I wouldn't want to play him again.
All right, how about
I mean, think about that. That Tennessee game, you look at that score and you're like, oh God, dude, it could have. I wouldn't want to play him. If they had a quarterback that was going toe to toe with us, and that defense, a lockdown cornerbacks, brother, that was a tough program, and his defense just got tired because they were out there the whole damn time.
Right. Now, how about South Carolina, Shane? Buy, sell, or hold? Again, this is probably an easy one.
Buy. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, how can you not? I mean, the way they closed out this season, brother, they've been on fire, and it all starts with the quarterback here. Obviously, we're going to lose some weapons. We got Bell. That's one of the things. I don't know what's going on with that situation. Love to see him come back. But this is a port. You talk about Portal King. We all talk about Lane Kiffin, but we forget what Beamer's been able to pull over there in Columbia. So I think we're going to have some big names hit this. You got a quarterback. You got some running backs. You got a lot to sell down there. And so I'm going to buy South Carolina.
Yeah, one thing that's crazy, Shane, I mean, this has kind of been said to death. I'm tired of dragging this guy, but all the success we've had at South Carolina under Beamer, we accomplished it with arguably the worst offensive coordinator, maybe in Power 5. You know what I mean? So as long as you upgrade there, which shouldn't be hard to do, I mean, the ceiling just keeps on rising. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have been nailing it in the transfer portal. I look for them to continue to do that. Spencer Rattler, hope that he comes back, because he really seemed to unlock some. If he plays for an entire season just like he just did, I mean, I don't want to. It seems like we're just poking fun and all this if we throw out Heisman with Spencer Rattler, because we've been there and done that. Let's not go down that road. But we're saying if he plays like he did the last 2 weeks, we're talking all SEC potential, which again, he's had a very inconsistent year, yet we're winning with that. So if we upgrade an offensive play caller, we get more consistent, full potential Spencer Rattler, we can compete with damn near anybody. Bye, Shane Beamer's South Carolina program.
Absolutely.
Now, I shouldn't even have to ask you this, Shane, but how about Tennessee and Josh Heupel?
Sale. Get rid of them. Burn your orange gear. Just kidding. We're going to an SEC championship next year. We're going to have a Heisman winner. We're going to the college football playoffs. No, I think I'm buying, man. I'm absolutely buying the Tennessee Vols. Just because we don't have a lot of kids leave. I mean, we got some talent going, but that Tennessee defense is the big one for me. Obviously, we're going to do our best to build some depth at that. We're going to be hitting the portal hard. We've already done it, man. We're already picking up pieces we need. Heupel, obviously, we lost our coordinator, but this is his system, and I think that continues to strive next year. I don't know about the quarterback situation. Bazooka Joe, he may come out here but he may also hold the spot for somebody, and I think that's the important, because we do got a lot of talent coming in. So Tennessee Vols, I'm buying. Season didn't end quite like they wanted to, but I think they start out the season strong next year, and they made their name out there. I think the defense improvement's the big one. The defense will improve, guys. It will be better, and because of that, Tennessee Vols will be better.
Yeah, and you can't forget, Shane. I mean, you just can't you can't let that South Carolina game tarnish what this program has accomplished. I mean, 2 years ago, dead in the water. People were suggesting 5 years before this team makes a bowl game. They're in a damn Orange Bowl in year 2, Shane. I mean, this has just been incredible, and they're competing with Georgia and Alabama and LSU in the SEC. They beat 2 of those 3. They don't even have anywhere close to the overall talent of those rosters. So as the talent continues to come in, they're fully on board with the NIL. They're one of the biggest programs that have made that commitment to the NIL. And what did I say at the top of this, Shane? You're asking me about these transfer. When the guy's going to start transferring? Well, the only SEC program with 2 commitments, Tennessee. I don't know this for a fact, but I have to believe NIL was involved in those. So credit them looking, hey, where are we deficiencies in our roster? Let's shore them up. Let's get them involved. Tennessee, under Josh Heupel, the arrow is pointed way up, in my opinion.
Yep.
All right, how about Texas A&M, Shane? I mean, not you so much, but me, Mike, and Jimbo all season long. They've got all the talent in the world. They've got some of the best fans in the country. They show up, except for that UMass rain game. I'll give them that. But hell, I mean, they show up in my mentions like there's a million of them, like I know there are. Buy, sell, or hold the future of Texas A&M football.
Yeah, they weren't at the game, but they were at the laptop. They're tweeting at Mike. Brother, obviously, I hyped. This point last year, I could not wait to see what Texas A&M looked like next season. All off season, I pumped them up. I thought this is going to be their shot. This is going to be their opportunity. We just keep seeing improvement down there, and that's going to start showing up on the football field. And for what I saw last year, the product put on that field, my biggest concern is I've not seen substantial changes yet. I haven't seen help with the offensive coaching. Jimbo's out here talking about this system works still. I mean, he's tripling down on this stuff, and that scares me. When I see 28 people in the portal, that's not how many they have, but damn, it's up there. That scares me. We talk about how loaded with talent. Well, there's a lot of talent in that portal right now. And I'm not convinced that they pull too much from the portal, which is also a concern. So I'm going to hold. And the reason I'm holding, Mike, is because I think we're going to improve from last season, clearly. I think we're easily going to make a bowl game. But I'm holding because of right now, I'm not convinced that we're going to have a drastic improvement on the offense or a drastic improvement on the defense. And at times this season, the defense is what was keeping you in most of these ball games, and that kind of dwindled toward the end of the season. So I'm just pausing right now and not really holding. I'm just like, I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't gamble on it. I wouldn't do anything. I've got to see it. I got to see it, man. I got to see what happens here in the offseason. Who do they get on that staff? Who do they keep from leaving their own school? That's what I've got to see, Mike, and a buy-in from that locker room, which right now I'm not convinced that they are united. Right. Hell, your best player committed he's going to the draft. What are you going to do without Achane,
Shane, I hate to get off topic here, but real quick.
Yes.
Breaking news.
Go.
Dylan Johnson, Mississippi State outstanding running back, has entered the transfer portal. Now, that's not news in itself just because there's so many guys going into the portal, but he's tweeted out a statement here, Shane. It's lengthy, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll give you the key portion here. Together, you guys have helped me build my character and skills tremendously. With that being said, since I'm not very tough and Mike Leach is glad I'm leaving, I will be entering my name into the transfer portal with the hopes of finding a more fit playing environment for me. Thank you. And if that's not bad enough, Lane Kiffin retweeted that.
Damn, Lane. Oh, golly.
Only in the SEC, you know it? So, man, arguably Mississippi State's best running back. I mean, I know they got two going. They got Marks back here, too. They're both great. But, my God, that's not the message you want with your guy 1 foot out, 1 foot out the door and clearly not returning. You know what?
Damn, not right now, Mike. This ain't the publicity you need right now when you're trying to get these kids to come to your school. So, but to be fair, that is a tough kid would not be tweeting that.
Yeah. So, hey, two great
maybe
points
he's on
by
to
you.
something. Yeah, I wouldn't say it to his face because he beat the shit out of me, but maybe.
No, but I love what you had to say about A&M, Shay. Sorry we get back to that, but yeah, we just need a play caller. I love that we finally appear to have the quarterback resolved with Connor Wigman. Just a game breaker as a true freshman. He's got such potential. He could be the face of your program for 3 years, really. If he's playing so well, he may be in the NFL in 3 years. You know what I mean? So that's huge key to the puzzle. But like you said, the future of that offense, they've cleared the way for an offensive coordinator. Who will they get? How much autonomy will they give him? Some of the names out there being thrown around already at other jobs. And that tells me, Shane, that kind of like I feared, elite offensive play callers may not want to go down there because they know Jimbo. They're just going to be running what Jimbo tells them to run. So, again, we'll see. But talent matters more than anything. A&M's got elite talent. So I'm not selling. I'm not buying. I'm right there with you. I'm holding Texas A&M, but they got all the potential in the world.
Yeah.
Now, last but not least, Shane, Vanderbilt, 2 SEC wins, 5 overall. What an outstanding season. Buy, sell, or hold Vanderbilt Commodores.
Oh, I'm going to hold right now. I'm a little discouraged by the portal. I mean, we talked about an emotional win, man.
Yeah.
Emotional win with Kentucky, emotional win against Florida. And I don't know. It kind of baffles me why, for starters, why Ray's in the portal. I mean, he was a big piece of that. He was a big piece of that offense, so I'm a little discouraged.
Well, let me tell you real quick, Shane, what I've heard, and maybe this will fill you in on where we are as a program here, but I'm told Ray Davis wanted to stay.
Yeah.
To keep playing football, he has to go into graduate school.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, Vanderbilt, he just couldn't do it at Vanderbilt. So we got star player, would have been future of the offense next season, along with your outstanding quarterback, A.J. Swan. I get it. But, man, just a critical piece of the puzzle. And he can't get into grad school for whatever reason.
Bullshit. That is absolute bullshit, man. This is a business, Mike. I mean, forget, I hate that old saying, well, we're paying for their education. I was like, no, you're clearly not. If the kid can't stay around for graduate school for whatever reason.
Right.
I mean, that's just pathetic. That is so stupid. I cannot believe you said that, Mike. Now I feel bad for saying what I said. I am buying. I am double downing. I absolutely love Vanderbilt because Swan is coming back. Mike, I get Mike leaving. Mike's not going to be the quarterback. But he didn't leave during the season. He could have. That tells me something about this locker room. And then here I was creating this false narrative, and I find out.
Well, no. See, I'm flipping it the other way, though, Shane. And this is the example I used the other day. And I realize this is not the best example, but if Bryce Young could come back at Alabama, but the only thing standing in the way was getting into graduate school. How damn quick would Nick Saban make that phone call to make it happen? So the way I'm reading it is basically is Vanderbilt. This is not a Ray Davis problem. This is Vanderbilt getting in the way of their athletics excelling and keeping star players. So it's almost like a lack of commitment to football.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It is a business. College football is a business. And, the kids at that stadium, I mean, you just got fined because those bastards came out on the football field. Remember all those kids? You know why they were there? It wasn't because of their school. It wasn't because of extracurricular activities. It was because Ray played a hell of a game and you guys just upset the Florida Gators. So, I mean, come on, guys. Use your freaking brain. You got to separate school and football. It's not. Yes. Are they getting an education? Are there going to be some kids that need this, lean on it, and have, need it for their futures? Absolutely. There's going to be more than that. But when we tune in on Saturdays on CBS, ESPN, SEC Network, and that money is just filtering into these universities, it's to watch college football. Yep. And if your kid can't stick around because of some stupid rule or you won't allow it, this is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life, and that's another reason that Vanderbilt does not deserve to be in the SEC champion or the SEC league.
Yeah.
I mean, you do that. You switch them and Tulane. Guess what? Ray's coming back next year. The green wave is coming, baby. So because they care about football, because that's what keeps the lights on. That's what's paying the bills. That's where this money's coming from, man. And that just it infuriates me because when you see this team and how happy they were. How happy they were after the Florida game, how happy they were after the Kentucky game. Man, these guys are just, it's like We Are Marshall. It's a Disney movie. Yeah. And that's what's going on in Vanderbilt, and you're holding them back. That's just pisses me off, Mike. I'm buying because I think that Swan is a fantastic quarterback. And I think that he improves in the offseason, gets healthy, and comes out, and he's going to be one of those Vanderbilt quarterbacks, like the Cutlers, like that you see filtering through there every now and then, and you got an NFL quarterback. I truly think Swan could be one of those guys. He's that good.
Yeah, and that Ray Davis thing, Shane, that is a minor thing at the end of the day, but
stupid.
It's indicative of Vanderbilt, Yeah. And, how long ago was it, the $300 million facilities and all? I mean, I think we're going on 2 years since they announced that. Mm-hmm. It's my understanding, Shane, they've not even broken ground yet. And I don't know what it is. They drag your feet and they make all these empty promises, but the commitment is not there. So I want to go by right with you, but man, until they do a 180, until they help Clark Lea out, I fear, Shane, that he's just beating his head against the wall here. And 5 wins was a hell of an accomplishment. The over-under, Shane, when it came out was 1.5. I mean, it's ridiculous. This program was in the trash. Clark Lea is doing everything in his power to pull it out, and he's halfway there.
Yeah.
Won 2 SEC. That every SEC call I got, and I do about a dozen of these a week, Shane. Anytime they brought up Vanderbilt, all they wanted to ask was, will Vanderbilt win a game in the SEC? That was the only question they ever asked me about Vanderbilt. They went out and doubled that. No one thought they could do this, yet they're doing it. But they've got to commit to it. They've got to help Clark Lea, because guess what, Shane? The other 13 programs are bending over backwards to help football, and Vanderbilt is standing in the way of football, and they're already at such a disadvantage. I mean, it's a travesty.
Yeah, and they got all these secrets. They can't tell you how much the coach is making and all this stuff, or how much they're spending. It's all smoke and mirrors up there, and it drives me nuts. Because it could be, if somebody would just buy in. We've talked about this a million times, how great that Nashville setting could be. Mm-hmm. You really could build something great there, man. It could be exciting. If the Titans can load up a stadium, there's no reason that you can't. They've built 2 damn stadiums, and you ain't built one, It's craziest shit I've ever heard. They're building soccer stadiums, but nothing for Vanderbilt Commodores that's been around since the 1800s or whenever. So, yeah, it is so infuriating, Mike. It's just somebody needs to answer for it because it is a travesty.
Yeah. Well, Shane, hey, we went a little bit long here. We're going Joe Rogan style. You got anything before we hop off the line?
Oh no, I'm all worked up here at bedtime now. I do got something. I'm issuing a formal apology tomorrow, so expect that video apology. I made a deal that I was going to walk 100 days after that Alabama game, and I failed to do that, and I want to apologize, especially to Vol Nation, for injuring Hendon Hooker, for crushing his Heisman dreams, for crushing our college football playoff chances. So expect that apology midday tomorrow. I'll have that on all social media outlets. And again, I'm sorry. I truly am. So that will be coming out at some point. So keep an eye on Twitter, and when it posts, you'll know. Trust me, you'll know.
All right, buddy. Hey, I appreciate you as always. Always great to have you back on the show. We got another guest lined up for the next episode that is going to be pretty interesting, I hope. So stay tuned for that. But that is going to do it for this episode. Appreciate each and every one of you for checking us out. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols.